Hello, this is Rob with All In Together. I just got back from the Golden Gate Battlegrounds this past weekend, where I took down the event using a fatigue Jarl list. This is a really interesting list that was worked on by a number of players. You may know that Jason Rolfe top-8'd a similar list at Calling Copenhagen. Pablo Pintor played a similar list at the same events. I know Michael Medelo is one of the minds behind this deck. He's done a really great job putting this together. But think of this as kind of a sequel to the Counter Blessings Jarl deck that we've seen in these past couple metas. So what makes this deck work? We have a very consistent endgame that a lot of decks have trouble getting through. The crux of this deck is what I like to call the loop, where you get down to 4 cards left in your deck, where it's Heart of Fyendal, Everbloom Life, and Tear Asunder. Using this loop, you'll pitch Heart of Fyendal to Rampart of the Ram's Head, blocking 1, gaining a life, usually. Then on your turn, you'll cast Everbloom Life, targeting Everbloom Life. And then you'll cast Everbloom Life, targeting Everbloom Life. Keeping 2 cards in your deck, gaining 2 life each turn. Heart of Fyendal gains 1 life, Rampart blocks 1, and then you'll use a 3-cost blue card to buff up your hammer for 4. You don't have to have a 3-cost, but having a 3rd blue there. But I like to pitch my Tear Asunders to strip cards to make the game end quicker, or to take damage out of their deck. But effectively, you get a loop where you have 4 defensive value and 4 offensive value each turn, and majority of the decks in the format can't beat this. They fall apart. They cannot do enough damage, and we have enough defensive tools to survive any kind of onslaught. In just a second here, I will go and break down the deck a little bit more for those who are unaware, but I would strongly recommend. I know Jason Rolfe and Michael Medelo are working on a deck, so I will link to where you should be able to find that. So here's the deck. This is pretty similar to what Jason Rolfe brought to Calling Copenhagen and what Pablo Pintor also played at the events. A couple changes here is if you will dig through down to the sideboard here, we've added 2 Poison the Wells and an Amulet of Echoes. We adjusted the Arcane Barrier a little bit. We are disrespecting Kano a little bit in favor of playing more into Acilio, into Verdance, and Florian. We cut down on the Righteous Cleansing and the Staunch responses. So if you want to cut the Amulet of Echoes and the Poison the Well, you could easily hop back up on these. But these feel really important. I think the Amulet is a little less important, but we have a lot of very good Acilio players in our locals, so I figured it makes the matchup incredibly favored. It's good for us with us breaking their boots, but it's really easy if you're able to leave an Amulet out, and so when they try to put together that janky combo turn without their boots, you can really make sure you can close the door on them. But for those unfamiliar, this is a somewhat stock Fatigue Jarl list. We'll be playing with Coronet Peak, Fyendal Spring Tunic, Iron Will, Quick Dodge, Rampart, and Titan's Fist majority of the time. We have very limited red attacks. We have our E-Strikes, CNCs, and Oakenolds, and we are looking to pitch stack Oakenolds in the end game and then recur them with Remembrance to kind of close out these more mid-range matchups, but a lot of the aggro decks, they will fall apart to the point where we don't need to do that. But if they do give you space, it's pretty cool to have a Oakenold pitch stacked to make sure they can't put together the turn they want, especially if you can start getting CNCs in there and start to take cards from them. But the most important card, I think, to pitch stack and set up for the end of the game to strip cards is Tear Asunder. It's really, really sweet to be able to play into a player that has, like, you know, set at their big combo turn, and you've already stripped all their armor because you've been playing Oakenolds, or you've frozen to death their troubled pieces, and then go, okay, they've finally pitch stacked their hand. They're like, this is the hand that does 30 damage. This is when I kill you. And then you just go Tear Asunder, Hammer. And they just don't have the blocks for you. And you're able to strip apart their hand, and then they just go, I have 1 card left in deck, I'm at 35, and you're at 3. Yeah, this deck is a blast to play. You're maybe a bit of a sicko if you enjoy playing lists like this, but it's so much fun to just put these like defensive puzzles together that you can solve and kind of deterministically fatigue people at certain points. It's really cool that they printed Drone to Brutality again as a blue Earth 3-block. I was shocked when we got the new ban list and to see that Germinate came back, but Everbloom survived as well. I thought for sure if they were bringing Germinate back, they would have realized this card should also go. I don't think there should be repeatable life gain like this. That's also just a blue Earth 3-block. This card is just so ridiculous in what it does that you can just loop gaining back life every single turn. There'll be games, though, where I can go Sigil into playing an Everbloom Life and get back like an Oakenold. If it's not a game where I need to loop Everbloom Lives or it's my first one played. One thing to think about is if you are playing into Victor, you will want to block with your non-attacks and keep your big 8s in the deck for the end of the game. If you were playing into most other decks, you will want to block with your Guardian cards. minus Terra Sunder, and leave your elements in the game so you can fuse your Oakenolds and end the game that way. This is a deck that really rewards practice and understanding the metagame and understanding how other decks play. I think like any other good defensive deck, you'll be rewarded for understanding how your opponent is playing. You'll be rewarded for tracking their pitch. You'll be rewarded for understanding their game plan versus your game plan. It's a very satisfying deck to watch your opponents swing over and over again and ultimately fall short as their swords break on your shield. So if you enjoy these defensive game plans where you really can outthink your opponent, I think you'll have a fun time playing this deck. With that, let's go ahead and hop into how my event went. So with the Golden Gate Battlegrounds, during the last season, I placed second overall playing Syndra. I felt like it was the right deck at the time, and it performed pretty well after only playing the deck for about a week or so. So I placed second out of 60, and I earned myself a first round bye. So I got to show up, grab some lunch, and check the field out. Round 2, I was paired into Kasai. This is, I think a lot of Guardians think this is an unfavorable matchup. It can be pretty tough, but I think the more you play this matchup and the more you understand your role in it, especially in Fatigue, it's easier and easier for Jarl to win. This is really about just blocking efficiently and preventing their on-hits. You can't let them have their big pop-off turns. You want to prevent gold and prevent copper. Unfortunately, she will always generate gold from her Fable, and she will always have enough gold to cast Raise Her Army for a decent number. So with that, we're trying to pitch our Midas Touches for the second cycle. We are looking to cast Midas Touch off of a Tunic and swinging a hammer to kill 2 soldiers on 1 turn. But the important thing to remember is they only have so much go again. They will start to run out. I would not recommend trying to break their boots. I think it's useless to break their boots. You can look to break their gloves or to break their chest. Those are much more valuable to prevent them from getting extra resources or from having extra power in their deck. So as long as you just block out and try to prevent them from having their big blood on their hands turn or limiting the amount of gold they have, you should be pretty safe, because once she runs out of cards in her deck and she runs out of go again, she does 2 damage and we can block 4 every turn. We're totally safe. Round 3. This is Dash.io. If you've played a lot of Guardian, you understand that this is a pretty favorable matchup for us. I think Jarl, more than any other Guardian, does well into Dash, especially a list like this. This is one of the few matchups where we will place a flat 60. We will try to line up Disruption when we can, or to keep a D-React in Arsenal to make sure we can block out. But if they give us space, we can try to disrupt them, but really we're just looking to block out. They burn through the decks pretty quickly, and as long as they're not hitting 3 or 4 max Vs, we're pretty safe. And as long as their grenades aren't hitting, there's no way they can kill us. One thing to think about is this is one of the matchups where I will play Balance. And we can just keep blocking with cards like Rampart and Balance to keep eating their T-bones to protect our quick dodge flexors and our Tunic for important turns. This is a good matchup, and we're happy to see this deck kind of rise in popularity. This is Ira. This is easily one of our toughest matchups. I know this is why Metal had been working on this so much, is because he wanted to fatigue Ira. This is a really tough matchup, and it's really skill testing on both sides. You really want to prioritize your Rampart. You want to make sure that you're keeping cards in deck and also trying to take cards from her as much as you can. You really want to try to keep track of their D-Reacts. If you feel like they are sitting on that D-React for a long period of time, you try to line up a CNC there and start taking cards out from them. She typically can't block well outside of D-Reacts, especially with some of the more aggressive lists that are floating around, but ultimately you need to survive until the end game because their Kodachis can't break your loop. She goes 1 into 2, and as long as she doesn't have a ton more damage outside of that, Rampart into double Everbloom is 4. So you're keeping yourself alive, and because I think this round I was at 4, and my opponent was at like 25, and I was able to he couldn't do enough damage. He would put me to 2 every single turn, and then I'd go, okay, game 2, go back to 4, swing 4. And then we would just loop that over and over again every single turn, and then he would just run out of gas. So the matchup is doable, but it's really rough for you. Round 5 was into Verdance. This is a deck that's been really a bane for Jarl for a long time, and I think this is a really good reason not to bring Jarl. But we went to the lab and we cooked up a pretty good plan, I think. So a lot of Verdances, with Plume being gone now, have to now triple stack their rampant growths, which gives us a lot more time. And some of them are even cutting combo entirely, like they're hopping off potions, which makes this matchup really easy for us because we can survive the Evergreen loop without a problem. That's not a huge issue for us. We have way more damage than they do, but the combo for us is scary. So the plan for this is we were going to bring in Poison the Wells. We brought in 2 because we kind of mathed it out. as long as she's on Waiting Moon and with 4 potions and then 3 rampants, we can survive that every single time. If we have at least 1, if not 2 poison the wells, we are looking to keep our life totals incredibly high. Played this matchup a number of times recently, and I've usually been at over 40 when they have to go for their combo. I will let them pop 1, I'll let them pop 2, and then on the 3rd potion crack, you'll poison the well, and at that point they're committed. They can't go back, and they can't ever bloom back everything and start over. They are committed to the combo, and then when they crack the 4th potion, you poison the well that as well. And then if they go triple rampant, they're ramping 7 on each, that's 21. And it's just not enough. They don't have the gas. And then so once they combo you'll be at probably high teens, low 20s at that point. You can just sledge them out. You can Remembrance back your Oakenolds. You can start playing Terra Sunders. You can CNC them. You just survive. They don't have the damage left to kill you. Once we get to that second cycle situation where they're looking to start going off, it's really important to keep Tear, CLF, CNC, and Oakenold in your deck to disrupt them, because they want to have big hands for these. I'll often Coronet Peak on these turns and try to keep cards. I'm keeping Poison the Wells in my hand, depending on if they've Plow Under'd me 3 times. If they have Plow Under'd me 3 times, I can now Arsenal my Plow Unders, because at this point my D-React should be out of my deck, and I should be safe from CNC, so just track their disruption and make sure that you're safe. But Poison the Well is so important, and it stops them from doing everything they want to do, and it should make this matchup relatively easy once you're practiced. And so with that, we're 5-0, and we're about to enter the last round of Swiss, where I pair into one of my locals on Dory, and he and I have both been fatiguing people all day long, so we decide to intentionally draw and grab dinner together. So with top 8 being paired, I'm 2nd overall seed at 5-0-1, and I got paired into Syndra. Syndra can still be a little tricky for this version of Jarl. It's much harder to play this in terms of like heavy ice disruption, but your game plan is somewhat similar here, where we're looking to crumble their Flick Knives and Frozen to Death it pretty quickly, and then we're trying to block out and activate Coronet Peak where we can. Basically, as long as they don't have 5-card hands, they can't go over our defenses, and then we want to keep Quick Dodge Flexors for their big Wrath of Retribution turn. So one thing they can do that you have to be careful of is if they have 4 blues left in their deck, they can activate Syndra on your turn. They can swing 2 daggers, break the chain, then activate Syndra, re-equip, and then swing 2 daggers again. So that's 4 damage every turn. It lines up okay with our gaining 4 life every turn. But what we can do is if we Coronet Peak them, they only swing 2, because they'll lose a card and then they can't do their full loop. And so now we are effectively blocking 1, gaining 3 life every single turn, so you can build up a health buffer, and then you can swing back. Hopefully that shouldn't take too long, and hopefully opponents are cool and they just kind of, but these matchups don't take too long, so you really shouldn't run into time too much with Syndra. But it's very important with this deck you play quickly. If you don't play quickly, you are not going to finish games. I play incredibly quickly, and I still finish games with like 10 minutes left. So it just, be careful. Top 4 is into Fang. This is a really interesting matchup because I think into Jarl, this can be a little tough at times, especially when they just get their filthies quickly, and you're not able to put together a turn that resets them. But this is where Coronet Peak, I think, shines the most. This card is a house here. So one of the problems with Fang is once he completes his quest, he can't take a turn off. He has to attack you every single turn, otherwise he breaks. He only has so much go again in his deck. He only has so many ways to keep his daggers going, and as long as we're Coronet Peaking and keeping him off these huge hands for tons of damage, he can't do enough to get over our defenses. We have plenty of D-Reacts, we have life gain, we have a repeated block with the shield, so we can put them in situations where they go, like Dagger for 1, you can go Tunic, Rampart, and you can keep your reacts, keep your life gain, or you can put just like a Fiddler's Green on it, and it just feels really good, because now they're like, oh, I have this Tooth of the Dragon, and I kind of was hoping you would block this so I could just, go around, but you're pretty safe into anything they do. This game actually was on stream, so if you want to watch how I play it, I will put the link in the description, but this is a very defensive matchup where you just Coronet Peak them. I think my opponent ended up conceding when he was at his high 30s. He just had no deck damage left in his deck, and every single turn I would just gain 3 life and then swing hammer back. And then in our finals, I played against Dorinthia. This is my friend from round 6. This is Dixie. If you guys know him, he has his own YouTube channel. I learned a lot about playing Dory from the classic battles decks, and I was watching his channel. I was trying to figure the hero out, so he actually was a big part of me learning to play Flesh and Blood. So it's kind of cool to come back and play a lot of the people that are in your community that kind of helped raise you. But he's putting a lot of work in Dory for a long time, and he's done very well. But I know a couple things about him is that he always plays very defensively. And so this is not like a traditional Dawnblade deck. He's on Rainbow Shunts, oftentimes. I know he's on red chance. He's on Oasis Respites, he's on Fiddler's Greens, he's on Sigils. He's on every defensive tool in the book, so this is just going to be a long, grindy game, and I gotta rely on my sledge. That's the plan. I gotta blow him out one turn where I arsenal to poison the well. I only brought in one because I was like, I don't know how easy it'll be for me to line up multiple, but if I can keep one in, because I'll usually have an extra blue in the deck anyway, I can boom him. He went a Sigil at the end of his turn, and I said, I got a poison the well for you, so I was able to have a 6 value blue, which is huge, and it made killing him much, much easier. This was actually the only matchup where I did not fatigue him. I actually ended up killing him through raw damage. I ended the game with like, I think 3 or 4 Oganolds back to back to back to keep him off of the cards he needed to kill me. But this is a game about tracking pitch and keeping track of the resources. A ton of fun, super grindy game, and we were just exhausted at the end of it. But the event was a phenomenal time. The organizers did a great job. It was a lot of great players, but it was a really cool event. But yeah, we ended up beating Dory, and we took home this. This is our Battle of Forgotten Path Championship Trophy, which was made by one of our community members. This is the the hammer / guitar for Pleiades, which is the hero I think I'm going to be working on the most with Super Slam coming up. But it's really cool to be able to win this custom Guardian weapon trophy. So I'm really excited. It was really cool to kind of be able to come back after getting so close at the last event to be able to take this one down with my favorite hero. So thank you for watching this. Let me know if you guys want to see more tournament reports style videos like this in the future. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Take care.